Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining. So this is the next part of the saga in me fixing my sound in the 2015 Challenger Hellcat. As you may recall, there is absolutely no sound coming out of the speakers, even though everything works. The radio works, the GPS works, hooking up to the Bluetooth phone works. I can turn the volume up and down and see the volume bar going up and down, but zero sound. So I diagnosed it to the amp. I removed the amp in the last video and sent it out to be repaired to United Radio, and I got it back very quickly. So now I'm going to open this up, check out the amp, see how it looks, and put it back in the car and see if it works. So here we go. Here's the box. Have to do a box opening, of course. Put this very dangerous knife aside. So now let's see what has arrived. Some paperwork. By the way, when I sent the amplifier in, I asked them to let me know exactly what was wrong with it and if they could even include the parts, the bad parts, but there are no bad parts here. The amplifier looks pretty much the same way it did when I sent it in. So put that down for a second, and the paperwork says, as I told them when I sent it in, no sound coming out of the speakers, everything else working correctly, and it says extensive labor involved, high current draw. And that would, of course, explain why the fuse would blow. Every time I plugged in a new fuse, it would just immediately blow. What was causing that short, I don't know, and it does not say. So the next step is to put it in the car. And by the way, if you see here, there are 3 screws that you use to mount this in the car. And they go on the side here, and I've got them right here. They're T25 Torx. And basically you put the screws in, and then there are these keyholes where you put it in and drop it into place and then just tighten the screws. So I'm going to put those in now. And then when I go to the car, again, as I mentioned, all I'll have to do is drop it in place and then tighten the screws. But of course, when I drop it in place, before I tighten the screws, I'm going to plug it in and make sure that it works. So that's the next step. See you soon. So here, I'm just taking the amplifier, sliding it up and back in place, and then, as you saw before, there are 3 Torx screws on the right-hand side of the amp. They're already in there, and I dropped them into those keyhole slots, and then I plugged in the wiring harness, and it's ready to be tested. So it's been a long time since there's been sound out of this radio, so here goes.
You unpack your savings. Join me for the retirement.
Excellent.
Saturday at 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m., 2 p.m. and 5 p.m.
Fantastic. It works.
Making sense of the news. Live from the home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Okay, so now I'm putting things back together. Now that I've installed the amp, reinstalled the amp, and confirmed that it worked, I'm going to reinstall this. And this is that plate that was underneath. And as you can see, when I took it out, it had a lot of surface rust on it. And I was told, and I checked through a lot of sources, that that's just kind of a normal thing. I don't know why. The car's always been kept indoors, never been exposed to the weather. But I cleaned it up, sanded it down, and I put some clear coat Rust-Oleum on it. So now it looks nice. So we're going to put this back in. Okay, there's one. 2. And get the last 2 in. So again, this plate looks a lot nicer, even though no one's going to see it. That's it. So now that I've got the hood release cable finally back installed, I'm going to plug in the cables for the connectors for the switches, and shouldn't be too difficult. Famous last words. Okay, those are done. That's it. Now, this basically goes back in again the way it came out. There. That should do it. Starting to look good. Next, I've got to screw in these 2 screws. Okay, so these are the final few pieces. We have, I think, what's called the A-pillar extension, the cowl side trim panel, and then the instrument panel end cap. So let's kind of put these together first, and they'll just snap in place. So first here. Okay. Beautiful. That should do it. The last piece is this end cap. Here it is. It's going to go right there. Let's line up everything, and that, my friends, should do it. So that's it. The amp is fixed and working great and good as new. But bottom line, when this first happened to me and I had no sound coming out of my speakers, I didn't really know where to go. And the first thing I did was call the dealer, and the dealer really had no solution. They couldn't fix it, and they didn't really know what to do. They knew that the amps were no longer made, so they were coming up with solutions such as, we'll get an aftermarket amp and we'll jerry-rig the wiring. Or they even suggested that I go on eBay and I buy a used amp there. But that would not have been the best thing to do. There's absolutely no guarantee that on eBay the amp was working or would continue to work, even if it was working at first. So after doing some research and making a bunch of calls, I did find United Radio, which is a top-notch organization. It's a nationwide organization, and they were able to fix my amp and fix it actually for a better price than would have been seen anywhere else. Even if I got an aftermarket amp, it's about half of what it would have cost if I bought a used amp on eBay. And the one from United Radio was fixed perfectly and warranted for a year. So again, it was just fantastic that I found United Radio and got it done. And by the way, shortly after I sent in my amp, they were really, really quick. I sent the amp in, and I think turnaround was a day or two, and I got it back, I think within a week after I sent it. So I was able to call United Radio right after I got it back, and I was able to speak to the tech that worked on it, and he remembered it. And I asked him how things looked inside and what could have been the cause of the failure. And he said it was a blown diode, and there were a number of things that could have caused it, most likely a voltage spike. What caused the voltage spike is really unknown. It could have been some kind of an external influence, could have been environmental conditions such as moisture or, excessive heat or cold, but that really couldn't have been the case because my car is always garaged. It has low mileage, less than 10,000 miles, and it's a 2015. It could have been some kind of a battery issue. But I asked him this, and this was, in my mind, the most likely cause. I had done an upgrade to the UConnect software. I upgraded to 18.05.01, and I had to do this in order to get a map upgrade. And he said, yeah, it could have been caused by that. I think that was the problem because, as I mentioned, shortly after I did the upgrade, just a few days later, I noticed that there was no sound coming out of the speakers. And again, coincidence, maybe, I don't know. But in any event, it's finally fixed and working great. Now, I hope this video will help others who are having the same problem and were looking for a solution, because I had a hard time finding one initially. So that's it for now. If you haven't already done so, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell to let you know when I have any new videos dropping. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Take care.